Welcome back to the Witch's Way podcast. I'm Kat.
And I'm Jamie. And tonight we're talking about a very, something that I'm really passionate about. It's tools versus toys. What do we actually need to practice witchcraft? What do you need to be a witch? Like, do you need anything? Do you need everything? Lord knows I've had lots of Amazon lists full of the tools and the toys. I don't know why I wrote that for myself. I'm going to get tongue-tied all night saying tools and toys. This will be fun. Yeah. So witchcraft, as much as we see everything out there, it's not really about the shopping spree. Even though that part is very fun. I do like it. But you don't need crystals that cost more than like your car or your rent in order to really do the work. And sometimes from seeing stuff like that, the influence of it, the bigger the crystal you think, the more powerful, the more it's gonna work. It's not true.
Well, I just remember seeing this gigantic amethyst, I think when we were in Sedona. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that one? That was like, I don't even know how many thousands of dollars. It was probably $30,000 or something. This massive amethyst.
That is a whole car. That's not a car payment. That's your whole car. Can you drive that fucker to work? Like, what's it doing for you?
So in this episode, we're going to strip down witchcraft to the essentials. What actually makes you a witch? And what's just cute, sparkly extras, which we love, of course. I have plenty of them.
Yeah.
But this is really about the essential tools of witchcraft and what you don't need unless you want it.
But we're also going to talk about like how we get sucked into thinking we need the tools, because you've seen where things are advertised as powerful, like this is a powerful crystal. And I remember, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, kyanite was one of them. And it was like, oh, this is a celestial, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, I got to have the alien stone. I've always said I was an alien. Now I need the alien stone. Yeah, because it's so powerful, everybody. It's such a powerful stone.
It's going to do magic. If you don't do anything, it's just going to do magic.
Just magic for you, yeah. And when we're new, we believe those things. Or when the new things come out, you can believe them. And it's not on you. It's just the way that the human mind works.
So whether you're going to get a statue-sized amethyst, like the ones we saw in, I think it was Sedona.
Oh, yeah.
A 50-pound crystal, or just some tumble stones that you put in your pocket, it must be more powerful, right? If you get those things.
Yeah, it makes sense that people think like that materially, the bigger, the more powerful it is.
The bigger, the more powerful. Yeah, it does seem to go
hand in hand.
Yeah. Although when we think about electronics, look how tiny electronics are and how powerful they are. So we could flip that.
And it should be flipped. This is kind of why we're talking about it, because it needs to be flipped, because there's just not anything you truly need. You need knowledge, but that is something that you have in your head. It's not like living on your couch, It's not taking up space in your house or apartment.
So let's talk about energy versus power.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start, because we want to address the biggest part of how people get us to believe we should buy the bigger crystals or the bigger tool or the fancy athame or whatever, just all the fancy things or the expensive things.
Okay. So energy equals presence, which means everything that exists has energy. A stone, a tree, a cup, anything physical, and even some things, I guess, maybe not physical, because sound has energy. Sound has energy. But if we just think about physical things that we have around our house, or that we can buy at the store or off Etsy, or that we see other witches have, everything that we have around us is made of energy.
Yep.
That energy is steady and it's consistent, and it also vibrates at a certain level, which we've done some examples of that in our witch school.
Yeah,
we did a whole exercise on that.
Yeah, for resonance.
It can hold a vibe, peaceful, chaotic, or protective, but it doesn't do that on its own. It doesn't do anything on its own. So just the fact that you have an amethyst, you have a nice amethyst that you spent $50 on, or $20 on, or $5 on. Those things, while they vibrate at a certain energy, they're not going to like do anything. They're not going to create some kind of a magical anything. It's
stagnant. Well, stagnant sounds so bad, but it's just present energy.
It's an object.
Like, it's just that. All of these things are just, they have presence energy. They don't have movement energy, which is what we're really talking about next. So with power is motion and intention, right? So if you think about what power isn't something that you like go and pick up and then now you have it. It's not that. It is energy that gets into the motion, and it's your intention with it. So you're also directing it. You're giving it purpose. It's, we can go into lots of examples about power being good or bad because of who has it. It's not necessarily that power itself is good or bad. It's energy that is risen up to something, and then it is held by somebody. So power is what happens when energy is directed, when it's amplified, and when it's transformed. So that's 3 ways to really think about how energy and power, like that's how energy gets powerful, because it is directed, amplified, or transformed. Now, directed energy is focused energy, like our will. Like when we are staring at a candle and repeating things, we're focused. I think of Superman's laser eyes and how that's a very focused energy to move something. It's energy that is staring into something. That would be directed energy. Just like that. That imagery should come to your head for it. The more focus a witch has, the more powerful that directed energy is. So it is about you're moving the energy with your mind to a specific spot, to a thing, to somewhere.
To have an example of this, you know how when you're like really pissed at somebody and you're giving them the evil stank eye or the daggers, like the saying, if looks could kill, you'd be dead.
They feel it. Sometimes they turn around.
That's an example of like focused energy, because you're pissed and you're like, oh,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's one kind of energy.
I think
one example of.
I think of scared energy too, because bugs. Like people get really freaked out over spiders.
Yes,
I like watching funny videos where people get afraid of like bugs. I'm like, that's really it doesn't do anything. But they're terrified and they're jumping all around. Like that is amplified energy because they fear the little thing, and it's tiny. Bugs are tiny, but some people really freak out if something is crawling on them, flying on them. I mean, even when I swat a mosquito, my energy is amplified. I immediately get pissed off and I'm like, oh, I aim for that sucker and try to get him. That is
when I'm trying to kill the gnats or the mosquitoes that sneak into my house.
Absolutely.
Boy, I'm on a mission.
because you laser in on it. If you think about this, like it's funny, but it's true. When you think about that, you really want this thing to, you're like, I need to kill that mosquito so it doesn't bite me, or it's biting me right now. I need to squash it so it can't continue to bite me over and over again. So amplified energy, so that's like focused energy, right? So we got laser focus. Amplified energy is different. And when I think of amplified energy, music always comes to mind, or being inside of like places where people all sing together. When I was in choir and we would go into the big hallways where everything would echo, man, it would amplify everything. Everybody could feel it. Like you would get chills. I mean, and depending on the song as well, right? It can really amplify things. I think about when Celine Dion like belts, Whitney Houston belts it out. Like you feel that amplified energy coming through their voice. So for me, it's music. Do you have a different way to think about like when you amplify your energy? I mean, it's also when we build, when we cast circles around ourselves, but that would be a lot more to explain right now. I think the music thing is probably the easiest way.
Music's a really easy way, I think, to understand it, because I went to revivals. If you guys, Jamie didn't know what a revival was.
Revival, I was like, what?
A revival, they have them like under the church things, and they'll be under a tent, and they have all these people, 100 people or whatever, and they're all vibing with whatever the pastor or preacher's saying, and then they're singing, and so that level of energy is being raised as those people are like rejoicing and praising and all of that. All their energy is being raised. So you can think of it like that too, like a group of people that are protesting would be another thing. When you see people are pissed off. Drum circle.
Yeah, we do drum circle here.
Football games, sporting events. Games. Yeah,
Taylor Swift concerts,
screaming for the team. That's focused. That's what do we call amplified energy? Yeah. When you're like this crowd of people, but you could.
I should have thought of Taylor Swift concert. Yeah, that's number one on my list now. I have to change.
Well, that goes with music.
It does. Yeah. Well, I imagine myself in like middle school in the hallway. Why didn't I not imagine being at the Taylor Swift concert? I don't know, because that was like it. It's so powerful with so many people there with the same feeling, and everybody's just like really excited. I mean, it makes you emotional strangely. Like there is no reason to cry, but you just, the excitement of it all. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's amplifying your energy, which is a skill that we teach where you really start in the center. You guys have heard me talk about this before, but in the center of your body, and you want to radiate an emotion outward. So emotions is energy in motion. So this is about power comes from energy being in motion. Yes, and I gave you transformation.
Okay, so transformed energy is having a feeling like rage and being able to shift it to peace. So, boy, I've seen this.
There's lots of ways that this could go. Like, you have an emotion, you have a feeling, right? And then you're able to transform it. Something you do brings it to another place. This is what we do with spell work, right? We're taking something that is a mundane thought and we're trying to shift it into the reality of our world right then. That's transformation. That's what everybody's usually looking for. Pushing things in and pushing things out or bringing things in. It's always about a transformation that we're looking for.
Another example of transformed energy is taking something that's painful in your life and turning it into a motivator to change your life.
Yeah.
That's transformed energy.
Or other people's lives. You know, I have a young woman in my life right now who's ready to, she's still very young, like in her 20s, so to me that's very young, but she has lived a lot of life at her very young 20-year-old self. And she is ready to start putting these stories down and like creating a book from it. That would be transforming all of her shit she's been through into a tool that could also possibly inspire and help other people. And that's what she hopes to do with it. So it's not just transforming your own life, but it can transform other people's lives depending on, you know, where you put that energy out to.
So one last note on transformed. A witch activates her energy by adding focus, will, and emotion. And as Jamie already said, energy in motion equals
emotion.
Yep.
Emotion is energy in motion. It's a great way to remember it. So after saying all of that, you're probably wondering, like, so do we even really need tools? No, we've said this a couple times too. Like, the witch is the tool. The witch is the tool. That's like, I think that is a message that is missed so much in witchcraft with the availability of stuff and how pretty everything is and how much it all looks so great
witch
together.
Aesthetic, you know, I mean, the witch aesthetic is very on trend right now.
Having the practical magic house. I mean, there's just these ideas that we have in our head of what magical looks like, and that can sometimes lead us in the wrong direction, away from our practice and more into aesthetics.
And I guess I would say the other thing about that is, does a witch need anything besides herself? No, like in terms of tools, she just needs her own, you know, soul and thoughts and power, what's inside of her. But also, if you come to witchcraft without that, I think that's something that you may have to learn to harness in yourself. Like maybe you're not sure how to do that. So if you're not able to focus energy, if you're not able to sustain a high focus, you may have trouble having successful spells. Would be probably the best way to say it.
And that's how things like shadow work came into kind of play within spiritual work, is because when you are feeding yourself lies, this is not in our lesson, but when you are still holding on to lies that are not your truth, they dim a lot of you have beliefs about yourself that it's a belief. You can literally change it anytime you want to. There is nothing true except for what you put into your own head. And so sometimes we have to undo a lot of the shit that the world has told us about ourselves and what's possible and all of that. Because if we believe that that's true, then that will be what our life is. It just will. If you've ever met somebody who is really stuck and they're kind of disillusioned about it, and you're like, but you could change this. And they're like, no, like this is the way that I can't. You know, we make excuses for our things. We say, oh, it's because of my parents, or it's because of my situation, or we give ourselves the reasons that we're right to back up that belief. So that belief is still an emotion, right? That's still, you're giving power to that feeling. Yeah, that wasn't a prepared speach. So I know.
I thought of that the other side of it is that you need to, when you're practicing, you do need to have that belief. And if you're struggling with finding that place in yourself, look at, do some shadow work around that. And that's not what this lesson's about, but I do want to put that out there.
It is, because you have to know your own energy, and you need it to be you need it to be good, healthy energy if you're going to create change in your life, and it doesn't have to be at 100% before you start creating change, but you need to know that that's what you're working towards. And negative self-talk is something so inherent to the human mind. I'm not going to say we cannot stop it, but it is a challenge to undo all the beliefs that we've told ourselves for so long. When you finally learn that, you're like, wait, that's a lie. That's not actually true about me. That's not, stop telling the stories and they won't be true anymore. So really, for my point, it's just that you're the only tool that you're ever going to need. There's lots of things that you can do to make yourself a better tool to shift and move energy. Breath work, I have found in the beginning was really helpful for me to really feel it in my body, but then moving my body, and lastly, chanting. For me, like chants within my spells, repeating the words, saying it out loud, like that's where I found my comfort zone, with like where I feel the most powerful. And so that's the belief that I hold about mine, is that I need words to make this. It used to be just thoughts. It used to be feelings in my body. I used to sit with it. But I felt like when I got to the place where I was speaking them out loud, because I started doing more of my spell work outside and I wasn't around people, the words made that feel more powerful for me. I felt like I could raise my energy better having a mantra or a chant to go with it.
I agree. So the witch is the tool.
The witch is the tool. Yeah, witchy tools help us. The witchy tools that we're seeing, they just help us focus. So if you're wondering, like, where does all this pretty shit come in? And why do we have crystals? And why do we have a wand? And why do we use a broom for clearing energy? All of this stuff is symbolism. All of these things represent the energy or the state of those objects that we want to bring in. So you're kind of leaning on it like, hey, I'm not really feeling the self-love. If I have this rose quartz around me, like, then I can look at it and be like, you radiate, or you are the presence of a loving energy. So if I have you close to me, like, I can try to absorb some of that, or I can be reminded to think the beautiful, loving self-thoughts. That's really where the stuff comes in. They're just little helpers.
Yeah, like if you, like the symbols for the evil eye or the pinnacle, to witches, those symbols have meaning.
Absolutely.
And neither one inherently holds power, but we believe they do. So they do.
Yeah, it's part of belief is still an energy and a feeling, all of that. That's still energy and motion, is to have feelings and beliefs.
Without energy, everything has energy, but without direction, it can't be used. We as witches need to build and direct the energy through thoughts, words, and actions.
Yeah.
Your breath, your body, your energy, your will.
Absolutely. So since the power is in the witch, think of yourself as that spark. Think of yourself as like you have all these, we can air quotes, mundane things laying around you because they're not magical without you. You give them meaning. Now that you know that you give them meaning, start to use them in that way and be like, oh, when I hold this stone, I know that I instantly feel like the power surge through my right arm, and like that it does this for me. And when I hold this one in the left hand, then I feel this. Or, if you're a witch that is like you direct energy with one hand and you release energy with another. Like, those beliefs help you feel more powerful while you're doing the things, because you're reinforcing that and you're able to take that on as your truth. The belief part of it is really powerful, because it's like that seeing to believe thing, I guess. Like, some people, you guys see it to believe it, right? That's a saying. Yeah.
But
what?
I was going to say, I'm kind of a show me girl.
I'm a science girl. I get it. I totally get it. But on the other hand, I have feelings. I'm sensitive to things. So there has definitely been stones where, you go into those little, the metaphysical stores, and they have like the basket of all of the different tumble stones. And you like pick up each one. And you're just kind of like, hey, I want to try. Like you look and you're like, nope, not, and you're like looking for your one. But for some reason, when you do grab one, you're just like, ooh, why does this one feel so good? I don't know. I like this one. It vibes with me. Like, there's something to that. Yeah, because I think we're the spark. We figure out what energy aligns with us. And that's also why you can let things go, or when it's hard to let things go because you don't want to release yet, but you cling on to like the stuff. You guys, I don't know if I told you, but I really love the show Hoarders. I don't know why. I'm obsessed with seeing people transform themselves and break out of things. That's why I went to school for psychology, because I just like the idea that we really can change ourselves from like the bottom of the barrel. We can like really get out of it. And you watch people try to get rid of stuff, and they believe so much that it has this like power over them, because they're like, no, I can't get rid of that. That was whatever. I can't even think of any of them. Some of them are.
So intention is key.
Yes.
And intention is a fancy way of saying you give your direction, you give your energy direction.
Yeah. I've never quite said it that way. I do want to just like, I don't know, I'm going to put a gold star on my chart somewhere, wherever I have a chart for me. I've never quite come up with that intention is just giving focus to your energy. Like nobody's ever explained it like that. Mm-hmm. And that's just, as I was doing this one, I was like, that's a really good, like explaining intention. You're giving purpose to the energy that you're feeling. You're giving it focus, direction. You're moving it in that way. That's what intention really is.
Yeah, right.
I like it a lot.
And without intention, the tools that you have, the crystals that you have, candles, they're just objects. With you, they become partners in magic.
It's like driving a car. Why did I just think of that? I mean, a car can't do shit without, well, we can't talk about Tesla, but a car normally can't do anything without a human, right? So that's what
Not
it is.
At this moment.
Yeah, you're just, these things are for us to use and not for them to be more powerful than us and for us to think that we're less without them. That's the biggest point. Like, you're not less without the things. You're really not. You're probably more powerful without the things because you don't have a bunch of shit to go and dust off. Like, taking care of this stuff is a chore, and it drains your energy. So,
if you did a spell tonight with just your voice and intention, it would still work.
Yeah.
That's how powerful you are.
That's how powerful we can be. Just knowing what we want, directing that energy, looking at the outcome, being like, I believe I can have that. That's a spell. That's it. And if you think that every single day, you're feeding to it. You're amplifying that energy. You're believing it more. You're writing that into existence through your thoughts, words, and actions. Yeah. So what are like the next part of this is like true tools, right? Because we got all these associations with witches. What are our true tools, like essentials that I would call it? And after saying that you need nothing more than yourself, I felt like it wasn't right to say tools versus toys and not actually talk about tools, even though we now know that the witch and her energy is all you really need. Yeah, so I'm big on the elements. That's one of the things that is core to my practice. Mm-hmm. Fire, earth, water, air. And so I did a little like elemental starter kit for witches. And it's so simple because you don't need a lot and it doesn't need to be big and expensive and elaborate. For
and
fire,
you probably have everything in your house right now.
You have a representation of water, fire, earth, and air in your house right now. Absolutely, everybody does. No matter where you are in the world, you would have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to prove myself wrong in my own head. Now my scientist brain is going like, are you sure you can say that? What about this? What about this? But no, I'm going to say that.
You can find it, though. Yeah. You can find a representation for each of those.
Yes. So with this little elemental starter kit, for the essential tools, that's kind of what I'm calling this, because if you represent the elements, you have balance. You can use each one to do different things for your spells. Like that, for me, it covers everything.
You're covering everything.
Yeah, it covers everything.
You're covering everything that you would need.
Yeah, really. So fire could be, of course, I'm going to say candle, but also anything that burns. So you've got wood and sticks and straw and anything that's flammable. Like that can represent fire because it can hold a spark. So candle, or even just the lighter without having to actually light it. Like I have friends who do spells and they don't light candles and they don't light, smoke sticks, and they don't do incense or anything because that bothers them. And it's like, oh, okay, so with fire, then you just have a representation. It's just the lighter there, or it's the color red. So that would be fire. Water is literally a bowl of water, anything liquid. It could be even your tears. It could be, whatever, anything liquid. But I like to think of an actual bowl of water or a seashell. That is my go-to as my little Pisces self. I always have a seashell laying around somewhere. It doesn't matter. Blue stones. For earth, a rock out of your yard. Just dirt out of your yard. I have a earth jar that is literally just dirt I dug up out of my yard, put in a glass bowl. I solarized it, which just means that, any microbes that were living in there that could have birthed something are now gone. But it's just dirt from my yard that is part of my earth altar. That's it. So a rock from your yard, it could be salt, just dirt. Yeah.
A house plant.
I know. House plant. Like that's something that is of the earth, that growing
of the
thing.
earth. Anything, leaves.
And then sticks. So then you can get into, this is where associations get really fun. Okay, so we say like leaves and sticks and a tree and all of that could represent the earth because it grows on the earth, right? But when I think of leaves, I think of air because they blow through the wind if they're off the tree. I don't know. So you're going to create your own associations with stuff like this and just figure out what really represents that for you. Mine is always feathers. I find feathers everywhere. I have way too many of them.
This is for air.
This is for air. I did. Okay. I moved to air. I'm sorry. So with air, it's, just your breath, words, thoughts, breath, all of that is the air element. So if you're speaking out loud right now, this is air element. The thoughts that we're thinking before we speak, that's all air element. Communication between people is all air element. But yeah, mine normally is just a feather of any kind because, like I said, I have too many. I opened a box the other day where, it's just been a collection of feathers for probably 5 or 6 years. I don't know. And a lot of them are pelican feathers from the beach. It smelled like a birdhouse. I was like, oh, you retained your smell.
The big one that was down in the basement?
Yeah, that big box. Yeah, did you open it?
No, but I've seen it before. Yeah. And it's a Calyx, one of the, like a Calyx storage.
Oh.
With one of the, isn't that what it is?
Oh, no, I have like a little, it's like a paper box thing.
Okay. I'm thinking you had one of the Calyx drawers that was filled with feathers.
I did. They were in a basket. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the cats found that. Oh, no. Yeah, I thought they killed something, but it was just all my feathers that they messed up. It was interesting to find them all. Princess, I think she really likes it. But what's weird is I guess I never had them sit somewhere long enough to where it wasn't out in the open, so I never opened it and smelled it.
So you had something, you had them closed up in something.
I had them closed up.
And they smelled like
I opened it and I was like, that smells like a birdhouse. Like that, I couldn't believe that they still smell because I leave them out in the sun to solarize them so that they're, everything's dead. Yeah, no, they still smelled. It was interesting. Anywho.
I picked up shells this weekend from the beach.
They little can have things. A smell.
And I was going to throw them into my beach bag and then I was like, oh no, ew. So I made sure I left them out because otherwise that smell's going to permeate what's ever in that bag.
Mm-hmm. It spreads. Yeah, I've done that. I've accidentally taken a shell with a hermit crab in it before. And, of course he died and then it sat in the car and you just
no.
It's bad. And I killed something. I felt so horrible. I was like, oh, I can never do that again. So I don't usually take shells now. I have too many. There's no reason for it.
I know.
So the last essential tool that I would say is a journal, a book of shadows, a grimoire, something that you are recording your journey in. Please record your journey. Record everything, no matter how silly you feel, no matter that it's not consistent. Like when you feel the need to write it down or when something goes on, you should write it down. And for mine, we're going to be doing grimoire, I don't know, in a week or two. Or next week. I can't remember, you guys. Sorry. But with grimoire, I want you to know that, some people have just one that they use all the time. Mine is one that I write in for a year, and then I store that little baby like it is a journal, and then I start a new one. And sometimes I go back to old spells, and I bring them to this one, but more so, I just create new things, so it's never like the reference book like people want it to be. It's more of a combination between a grimoire and a book of shadows, but I always write down the things that are going on in my life there. Tarot pools, anything that ends up happening, losing a pet, going through hard times, being in the hospital, whatever it is, I record my journey in there. And that helps me. I don't know how, it just does help me. So recording your journey.
I should have wrote down, I did some spells early in my practice or my life as a witch, and I did not write them down, and I was told to write them down, and now I wish I had written them down.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember what it was that I put in the love spell and I had success with it.
It was very fast 2 weeks later. Yep. Mm-hmm. And now she's going damn it, if I could conjure that one back up again.
I remember I picked everything just from intuition, from what I had around my house, whatever made me think of it. But I don't remember what I said, the things I pulled together. I just know that 2 weeks later I met somebody. So, yeah.
A good candidate for love, too. Yeah.
Let's see. So here's a practical tip for you, because this is all about let's make witchcraft really simple or simplified.
Yes. And accessible.
Start with what's already in your house. Mm-hmm. Your kitchen is a spell cabinet. It's full of spices and all kinds of things. Cinnamon for money, rosemary for protection, salt for purification. You've got so many herbs in there that you can use in spells. For optional tools to add depth, you can use tarot or oracle cards for guidance, a pendulum for making decisions, and a crystal that feels good in your hand, not the whole store though. Don't buy out the store. Don't spend, your next paycheck.
Don't think that you need to crystals. Have it. Well, and I was definitely going to write, and I don't know. I don't think I did, but I was going to write about decor, because I do think that creating spaces that you love to live in is also important. So when you're buying witchcraft stuff that is just decor, that's okay. That's not the things that we're talking about. Like, if you want to go crazy with that, we are guilty
crazy
of that. Yes.
My house is, definitely. Both of our houses are full of stuff. Absolutely.
And there are definitely things tucked in there that are like, I feel like they're very magical to me, and when I see them, it just makes me like feel inspired to want to be in that space and do more magic. But my actual tools are stored in a way that, like, these are the things that I use all the time, the actual tools that I have. So yeah, I didn't get into decor, but that is like, just go crazy with that as much as you want to.
Do what you want.
Make a lot of your own stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's really more fun. Yeah,
that's fun,
because then it's unique. Nobody's gonna see that. They'll be like, "Oh, is that the same one that they had at Home Goods last week?" Like, I made this. Yeah, and you're not finding another one like this. Yeah. So I think with toys and trends and temptations. Why did I do this to myself? I love alliteration.
I love alliteration. We can't help ourselves.
I can't help it, but then I get tongue-tied very easily. So tools and trends and temptations. Let's get real about that consumer culture, because I feel like this is where witches get really stuck. Is they're like, they want to practice witchcraft and they're like, what do I need? And even when we've decided to, build something called like a modern witches, what the hell was it? Toolkit, a modern witches toolkit. I was like, oh, if we call it a kit, people are going to think that there's like, you get things from it. Like, it's items, physical items. So we even have this idea that you need to get a box of all the little crystals and you got to get all these things before you can start practicing. And I think the opposite is true. I think that you start with like yourself, your beliefs, your energy. What are you looking for? Writing things down, setting your goals. So the shiny object syndrome, I have that. I definitely have that. Also with just everyday tasks and just, it's worse, but I think it's easy to feel that when you get the beautiful tool or the thing you're just like, oh, you dream about it. You're like, damn, that's so pretty, and it's $225 on Etsy. But there's something about it that's like, once I get that, that'll feel so good, to have that. I'll be like, yes, look at what I've dedicated. Sometimes we believe that spending money on things means that we're actually doing the work towards the practice, and it's just not true. It's like, if you want to learn to play guitar, you don't have to go out and buy the $60,000 guitar. You buy a beginner guitar, and if you stick with your practice and you build it up and then you can buy the $60,000 guitar one day if you want to. But start small and inexpensive and try things out that way. That's more what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Discernment is magic too. Ask yourself before you buy stuff, does this add meaning to my practice? And if it doesn't, maybe wait, put it in a cart and leave it there until you feel like it would add something to your practice. Mm-hmm. Or does it just look good?
It always looks good.
If
you want it already looks good.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing about like seeing it and being like, ooh.
You can make tools sacred and not just cute by choosing pieces that feel alive in your hand, not just things you saw trending on Witch Talk. Yeah. Your magic deserves depth.
Absolutely.
You deserve decor, but not just decor. Yeah. Your magic deserves depth.
Absolutely. Because imagine if you were to walk in and like see all this really cool stuff that a witch has, like a new witch friend, and you walk in their house and like all this stuff, and you're like, ooh, so how do you use this? And they're like, oh no, I don't ever touch any of these things. They're just here to look at. You'd be like, what? Like, you have this whole collection of tarot cards, but you've never actually read with them? And you're like, what? I mean, if you're a collector, that's one thing. Yeah. So, I mean,
I've started a collection of tarot cards.
So have I. Well, I got into oracle cards now, and I never liked them before, and you did that. But I love them.
My fault.
I do. Some of them I like. And then when I don't, so here's another thing. I think we say this coming up, but if you buy something and it doesn't work out for you, gift it to a witch friend, If you can still return it, but gift it to somebody else. Be like, hey, try this out. We've done that so much in our circle where we buy something and we try to get into it. I'm like, this just doesn't vibe with me. Try this book out. Try this, deck out, whatever, and see if you like it.
Yeah, I bought a deck one time, and I couldn't try the deck, like hold the deck in my hands. And when I got it home, they were so big, I couldn't shuffle the cards. So I ended up using that deck for like crafts. I didn't have anybody to give it to, but I used it for like crafts, and which is kind of cool. So you can also do that with some of the things that you're like, yeah, this doesn't really do anything for me. It can become decor. It can become a craft. So there's that.
Still ways to use them. Yeah. So the empowerment tip here is with the consumer culture is just say no first. And a good way that Kat said it is like, put it in your cart and come back to it in a week. Come back to it in a month. Like, how strong is that urge to buy it? We have a lot stronger urge when we first see something than when we revisit it time after time. That's psychologically proven. So if you're trying not to buy things that you don't need, put it in a cart, save it in Pinterest, whatever, and then come back to it and be like, oh, well, actually now it doesn't look that great. I mean, it's nice, but I don't feel like I have to have it today.
Yeah, I like to have like a wish list shopping cart on Amazon where I'm putting things in. It's like, ooh, I like that, I like that, I like that. And then I go back and look and I was like, delete.
Exactly. Yes. That's how
here's a challenge idea for you. Try a no-buy month. Work with what you have. Work with only what you have in your house and your home. You'll probably find you're more creative and connected than you thought if you just start. I remember when you were kind of like teaching me in the beginning, I didn't have much here. And when you were teaching me to do like one of my first spells, you're like, okay, now go around your house and find things that remind you, when you look at them, they remind you of this thing that we were trying to do, this feeling.
Feeling.
They have a feeling to them.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what you can do in your spaces now. But that's also where, if you go around your house and you're like, nothing in here evokes self-love to me. Well, guess what? Now you've just identified a problem, that you don't have anything that is resonating that self-love in your house, and you want to do a self-love spell. Start bringing things in that feel like self-love for you so that you have that in your space. Because remember, the things do have an energy. They do have a resonance with something. They're not going to push it on you, and you're not, it's not going to be like you're going to get consumed by it and all of a sudden you're fixed, air quotes. But you can it's there as a representation. It's there for you to hold on to it, to remind yourself what you're looking for. So when you go through your house and look for the things for your spell and you notice you have nothing for that dedication, now I would say go buy a couple things. Go figure out some things that mean love for you.
One of the things that I love is like roses. So when roses are on sale, I will buy roses and then I'll dry them.
Yes.
Because I just love them. I love having like dried roses around.
I know. Why do we like dried roses?
I don't know.
Dried roses should represent like love dying, but it doesn't for me. I even like the smell of like the decay of flowers. I don't know why. Anybody else like that? Like, I love them fresh. I really do. I have rose bushes in my yard that I love, but also I like them when they're dead. I like their stink when they're dead too. I just do. So last thing is just practical magic / ritual stuff, okay? To be very practical about your magic and about your rituals. Do an altar edit, or wherever you're keeping all your sacred things or all of your stuff.
Excuse me.
Bless you. She's going to have 12 more.
Excuse me.
We have to just...
Excuse me. I'm done.
It was only 5? Okay. An altar edit or sort of a reset or reboot for it. If you're feeling the urge to like refresh something, gather all of your tools wherever you can, and if it's just a few of them, that's okay. Like, just set them out and be like, do I still connect with these things? And what I do is I pick each one up and I hold it in my hand, and some of them I have memories with. I'm like, oh girl, you've been everywhere with me. Like, you can't go anywhere. I have so many memories with you. But other stuff, I'm like, wow, I got that and I never quite used it. Is that more of a decor item now, or is that like, can I just let it go? You start collecting too many things. Or you've been gifted. Yeah, I've even been gifted things that I'm like, oh, that didn't really sit well, or it didn't fit in with me. So, you can re-gift it. So I just think, do the things that you have for your practice, do they amplify your magic, or is it something that, again, drains your energy because you got to take care of it, you got to dust it, you got, think about it, it's just taking up space. So cleanse and rearrange what really works for you. And everything else, figure out a way to let it go, whether it's to gift it to somebody, put it on Facebook Marketplace and sell it as a little, like, witchcraft kit, like, whatever you want to do with it. Donate, sell, offer it to your friends. That's a practical way to approach the tools that we have to see if we really have the things that we like, want, need, shit that's just taking up space. it's a good little edit.
If witchcraft feels expensive, you're probably engaging in capitalism, not magic.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, witches, you are the spell. Your tools just play backup.
Absolutely.
Keep it simple, keep it sacred, and we'll see you next time under the moonlight.
Under the moonlight.
Bye, witches.
Bye, witches.